What's good with y'all? Just give me 1 second. So I got find this little camera. Alright. Alright, so boom. We're good. So I wanted to discuss something. Cause I was looking at another chief that is awakening himself, and divinity recognized divinity, right? And certain people I tune into during divine time, because divine time is divine energy. For time is the measurement of energy cycles, right? With degrees and hertz representing delta, denoting energy levels and differentials in uh in the direction it proceeds in. Talking about northwest, east, and south. That being said, I was listening to a brother who was speaking on. I was listening to Rod Hayes. Listened to that the other day too, but I was listening to Rod Hayes earlier this morning, and as I was reading, I was taking notes for what he was saying, just from like probably like 7 minutes of the video, cause the shit that I've been trying to post in a nice structure hasn't really came out the way that I want to uh present it to you, but at the same time of doing, I could do better. I'm doing it, but I could do better. Because that's why no one's really watching the full video. But I don't really speak a structure, but I speak in a divine structure that might seem a little too much for you sometimes. But the way I presented it, I feel like I could do better. So you might find myself repeating myself, not because I'm stuck on one thing, it's because I know the people who's watching it didn't fucking view it. So if I do better on another video, they might actually view it. Then the ones who did might catch something new that goes to the old video, or they might have a page and they might find something connect, because that's what all that happened to me. Um, Try and connect out the world by on social media and being out in nature, tapping into self and going on what they decoding or what they told us, understanding that they lied about it, but they really didn't lie about it because they put it right in front of you. It's just if you don't comprehend what you're seeing, then it seems more like a lie. But it was something about the drugs. What's the right word? I think he was speaking. Yeah, the Class Action Act, right? Rod Hayes, uh, brother Rod Hayes was speaking about that, right? So I know certain people pick up on shit about me when I'm in like the comments. But either way, I told him to do what he was supposed to do, because it's a way certain people feel. And me, I gotta hear certain shit to click these neurons. So that's how it works. I seen it already. I know, I just need the words to write it down in the proper format. Feel me? Really, it's already here. It's a tree of life that has been rejuvenating within me. I've been connecting to the tree of life, spiritual realm, which is manifesting in the physical. So as I was just like, I my mind works weird, so I mean I could show you how I found this, but I just know it's divine because of how shit works with me. So I needed that message, and it wasn't even off this page; it was from off of someone else's. So that's what made it beautiful. So look, there's something. Alright, so I started thinking about that because DC has something to do with it being a republic, right? DC, right, stands for Delta Gamma, right? So everything they do with drugs is to go against the Delta Gamma cycle, or the Delta Gamma that's connected to the indigenous people. Um, that sounds a little crazy, I know, but look, for people who do know, you know. Alright, so look, for DC, like the C is actually for Gamma, D is for Delta. Uh, the Delta is actually the UV, which is associated with heat and light, which is a reactance for your cells for cellular growth. Now that the intensity is getting higher and higher, it's supposed to uh, give you a charge because now that your cells are producing more, they're producing more than they're dying. But if you're being a user to something that's called, if you're being a user to an unapproved drug or medical device under special forms of investigational new drug applications, or in other words, IDE applications for a device outside a clinical trial by people with serious life-threatening conditions who do not meet enrollment criteria for the clinical trial in progress. If you're partaking in drugs like that, like, the thing is, they're not supposed to be selling you drugs that they prohibit illegal and then tax it their damn selves. So either way it goes, they're making money, which you would think legally, through the system they're using to do it, through the Red Cross and everyone, the hospital, the scientists. And then the people are using scientists to even do it, the investors. The investors are the ones that's part of this, the Kabbalah, right? Even P. Diddy is a part of this shit. So, which makes Jay-Z and Kanye a part of this shit most likely. Um, so so say like weed, right? It's a natural thing that they prohibit illegal, but actually distributes it and helps it grow because, I mean, helps the distribution of it because that's them distributing it everywhere around, because then they use that for other things. Uh, just like sand is used for like glass and all types of shit like that, right? But let me just read what I found because that's the only reason I was making this video to start off with, is the expanded access that's given because of the US corporation, which is tied into UK and the European unions, right? That's why UK separated from the European unions, but that's like UK being the Western Empire and the US, which is the Americas too. The Americas below is ran by Latin, which is still part of the European Union. The Americans, North America is ran by the UK, which is still tied to Russia with the it's still tied to Eurasia, which is pretty much Russia and Asia and India. Uh, so that being said, um, a lot of drugs that move in. That's what made me even find this information that I found talking about the expanded access or compassionate use, dealing with um dealing with the compassionate investigational new drug program. For example, while state medical marijuana programs have become ubiquitous around the world, few are aware of the fact that the federal government ran its own medical marijuana program for many years. In fact, it still has a, a patient or patent who is given a patient who is given 300 joints of federal grown marijuana each month. The Compassionate Investigational New Drug Program, established in 1978, allowed patients with serious medical conditions to receive regular supply of cannabis. So this has been going on since 1978, which ties into the codes, the U.S. codes, um, the U.S. code 19242 and 18242, United States code. Yeah, code 42 U.S. code 19. Hold on, no. Oh, 42 U.S. code 42, 1983, 19 U.S. code 240, and 18 U.S. code 242. That ties in to what they were doing with that. Then they got caught up for the shit in the 80s, right? But this is what they did though, right? So, peep game. The Compassionate Investigational New Drug Program, established in 1978, allowed patients with serious medical conditions to receive a regular supply of cannabis from a federal government, which so like ADHD deals with a lot of cells reproducing, but then it could reproduce in a negative effect. But most people with ADHD, that's just them being the beginning stage of them being able to multitask, right? Because thing about me, I most likely have that shit, but ADHD is a certain type of energy that you're retaining. Alpha, delta, hold alpha, delta. So when you think to that, that actually ties into the alpha wave dealing with the the energy, right? And the H is something to look at later, because I didn't never break down the H energy. But it's kind of like saying that a string is still connected, because like, stupid 6 years. Alright, so boom. Back to what I was saying. This is kind of weird. Alright, so established in 1978, allowed patients with serious medical conditions to receive a regular supply of cannabis from federal governments. The program was very limited, with only 13 patients receiving marijuana. That sounds like a lot of marijuana for a very low price too. or like your Reggies, or most likely your regular OG, because the OG was the purest form of weed. And if they were making any type of pure Kush, then they were using South America or Mexico, because Mexico it's a Mex corporation, right? Mex means what? I didn't even look this shit up, but Mex means, what the fuck do Mex mean? Because co means corporation. So Mex and Latin means Mex cerveza deals with tequila. Tequila deals with that root that looks like pineapples, and pineapples deal with the pine, and the spine dealing with the pineal. And all these drugs actually goes against that. So that being said, let's keep going. And that's what they were practicing, studying how light and heat reacts to the cells, right? Because weed is actually a cellular reproduction plant for your chakras. Uh, it helps you reproduce your cells the way it's supposed to. Like, it works like the sun. But the thing is, why they say you're not supposed to smoke weed until you're mature. Uh, the thing is, most people don't get fully mature because their attachment to anxiety, uh, which blocks intuition, and intuition is the real school that's in you, because the tree of life is within you. The Akashi records is within you. You were pretty much a star. You're like the sun aligned to every sun, star, planet that is pretty much uh, in a solar alignment dealing with your soul, right? And your soul deals with memory, which manifests into the physical, into the parallel that we're dealing with, the two parallels that we're dealing with, above, below, left, and right. So that deals with four elements within you, dealing with the fifth element, plasma, which then that deals with your sodium channels, which is your blood, plasma, and your melanin. So now that is trying to turn your plasma up to another state. It's trying to turn your melanin up to neuromelanin to another state. It's trying to turn your cells into a charged state, straight electricity, lightning coming from below to go left or right or up and down, right? But look, getting off topic, this is about the Compassion Investigational New Drug Program. Right, so established in 1978, allow patients with serious medical conditions to receive a regular supply of cannabis from federal government. The program was very limited, with 13 patients receiving marijuana, which many consider to be very low quality. The program does not allow any new patients, but continue to operate providing cannabis grown at the University of Mississippi for individuals who remain in the program. Cannabis comes from Canis major, and it works like a star plant. Canis Cannabis is actually for it's a chakra herb, mainly for the curb of the heart. But then when it deals with certain lights, it makes different colors and different potencies of the plant itself. So when it's turned into a different state of matter, or you can eat it as a solid liquid gas, and then when you put it in your body and release it, it deals with the air, the blood of the air, and the blood of the body within you, right? And then it deals with the blood of the soil because that's where it came from, right? So really, a lot of this blood is dealing with hydrogen, right? So that being said, that's another thing for the H, right? So because the D actually represents your covalent bonds within that actually makes your trinities of atoms turn into a neuromelon, a, a neural charge, because it creates more neurons, right? It creates two neurons to each cell. That's where the V2 comes from, because it's charging it up to the second power. Um, but the thing is that it's like they always use some shit, say it's fucking illegal, but then move around and try to sell it all over the world or take it from all over the world and tax you on it like it's something to do legally. And then if someone else tries to do something that they're already putting in front of you, which pretty much lures you in, because it's like me going outside, breathing air, and I'm like, oh, I can make some money off of this, right? But then they're trying to stop me from doing so, but there's a natural way of doing so. But they're trying to stop me from doing so, so I get locked up for producing energy with air, right? The whole time they're using air for hella shit that goes against you, like the clouds and everything that fucks with the air and the water. That's dealing with a natural system. And what do they use scientists for that shit? They have scientists in South America. This is where I even kind of found this to lead up to what bro was talking about. Because DC stands, no, I was looking up Dior, right? And then Dior from there just went on and on and on and on. Because we're dealing with Delta and Rho right now. So, it ended up bringing this shit up. But it started with cannabis because it started with some whole other shit. We're gonna bring that up too. But I just want to read what I found, really. I'm really just getting off track. I just want to read what I found. So, on Wiki, it says some shit called expanded access. Expanded access or compassionate use is the use of an unapproved drug or medical device under special forms of investigational new drug applications or IDE applications for devices outside of clinical trial by people with serious or life-threatening condition, conditions who do not meet the enrollment criteria for the clinical trial in progress. These programs go under various names including early access, special access, or managed access programs. Compassionate use, compassionate access, named patient access, temporary authorization for use, court hard access, and pre-approval access. Sounds like you um applying for something, get approved for something, you paying for something with your taxes, um, you uh, using something that hasn't been studied for to even know what it fully does for you. So pretty much, they give it to you, and then as it's going on globally, they can take surveys on the data that they're collecting from the reactions, right? Because it's always going to deal with metaphysics, which is dealing with pathology, chemistry, and biology. But I'm going to say biochemistry because science is the study of life, and life is just magic, right? So with magic, you have your positives and your negatives, right? But if it's not being used in duality, it doesn't spark no light. But that's the thing, they kind of force it because it keeps you in the root, but you're always in the heart. But the man-made emotions keep you in the root. That's why weed actually supposed to keep you in the heart and stabilize your cells for growth during, especially during fast or cement retention or regaining your energy back. The weed actually rejuvenates you and make you feel rejuvenated because it's helping your cells grow. Depending on the way your weed looks, that's where it's going to attach to. So say a lot of perp is a lot of going around saying that's exotic. Really, purple weed just comes from the lighting that it's getting. But the lighting gives the THC a different type of growth. And that's where you get your trichomes from because it's making tri growth. But then you have your orange pairs for the solar connection also. Because that ties to your well, the solar, no, the orange is for your sacral, making the sacral herb. I mean, so the orange hairs, then you have the red hairs for the root, and all those mixtures, right? But the thing is that chronic chronos energy dealing with uh that shit is ran off of oh excuse me, that orange hair is like hairs for your sacral or your womb to connect to your solar power dealing with your spleen. So it helps. So when you're getting solar power, your spleen is actually rejuvenating itself back, gaining more red blood cells to hold a charge. Because that's where it first starts to weaken at the in the spleen. It starts in the spleen. But the thing is, people say it's kind of bad because of the decisions they made off of it. It could bring you in the heart space, and then it could bring you back in the root, depending on where your mindset is already is. Because that's what the drugs were kind of imitating in reverse. Because metaphysics, if you're in a have hella anxiety to the point from the consumption that you're eating from the foods, first of all, then anxiety comes from mentally the thinking. So if your anxiety is the opposite of you, when your thoughts supposed to actually grow cells because then that holds a charge for your magnetism, right? Because the more charge you get, the more magnetism you get, which produces into more electricity, into more power, into more voltage. So the anxiety actually keeps you at a lower state because it's not love. You come from love when you were born mentally, physically, and spiritually. You come from the heart. You come from the heart chakra. You're in the body. That's like one of the first organs. Um, you like someone, you could have hit them one time. Your penis got hard because of the love you had for that person. You might not be like, oh, I didn't even know that person, so I ain't had no love for her. But love is a form, liking something, attraction is a form of love. Not being attracted to something is a form of like hate. But at the same time, when you're given a perspective, you might be hating something that you're supposed to love, appreciate. And that's what you see during your karmic cycle of a loop, because you go to the heart and you get your mind right, you back in the heart, you feeling good, and you let everything around you, or the shit you eat, bring you back down your root. Reason you get sleepy because your physical is already corrupted. When you're eating wrong, and the physical that deals with your metaphysical body dealing with your cells. And then mentally it deals with your cells too. So you can either raise your cells by the way you think or kill your cells by the way you think. And the heart chakra is loving, so it's going to bring back your cells into the right reproduction. When you're given a perspective, that gives you power to allow to create an entity that's less of you. You allow, because now you're not working at a higher frequency no more, you're working at a lower frequency because now you're allowing attachments to things that were created by a high priestess that wasn't in that wasn't making shit for your highest good. It was for your falling, to attack you mentally and physically. I know this kind of seemed a little off, but it's gonna all make sense. Uh, so it's like, that's like, yeah, you get your itis and shit. That's why it says good for you to do it in a fast. Just like you being under the sun in this high UV is better in a fast, because now you being the variant, your cellular subdivision or reproduction of itself is grown the way it's supposed to be, making you a positive variant. A negative variant is the cells, or your red blood cells are dying, and the white blood cells, which is protecting the red blood cells from you dying. When your red blood cells are dying now, the negative variant uh, from the drug and the device that's actually combined into one, because it has to even attack with to attack the memory or the spleen, the solar connection, your solar plexus, which is tied to your heart and your throat chakra. So when you start killing cells and shit, that actually messes with your pathways, which deals with pathology, your nervous system, what ties into your intuition and your crown. So That's why the weed could bring you up, but it can bring you back down when you don't have it because you're still attached physically and mentally to sacral and root emotions dealing with everything in anxiety. And then your other chakras are attached to grief and shit like that. So you could go on Avatar. It's a cartoon they made of Avatar. If you go to Unlock Chakras, Avatar is probably the second or third video, and watch the old guy, the teacher, telling Aang standing for angel, he was learning all four arsenals of himself, four signs of him, four elements. Because one person, you don't have one sign, because you're in a 369 cycle, no number greater than 9, so that 12 is just the 3 and repeat. So that means in a month is 9 months, then it repeats. That's why this December of 2022, we're actually in September. So whatever energies that you were supposed to expect in September during this year, this year, because September this year was actually June. So my birthday would have been June 1st. I mean, September 1st this year, not June 1st. You understand where I'm going? And then that gives you another alternate of you, the fire, the air, the water, and everything. Four, four cycles, four around. The the fullness around represents the repeat or the rebirth of the cycle, right? Because you're supposed to be aligning to four states and three alternates. So your three alternates will be the other signs that are like air signs, and then the other signs are like fire signs. Because it's going to be like three alternates to each element, and then the two represents you in the physical and in the spirit realm, right? And it also represents northwest, and also represents east, east, north. I mean, it represents east and west, and it represents north and south. One line, two line makes parallel lines. So now when you get a line, now you're making a parallel spine, right, left, energy up the middle, okay? And you're connecting from above, that's what the U comes from, to harness the energy down like a magnet above. Then you're harnessing the energy below because it's part of the cycle, that's part of you. So when you're part of the cycle, now you're helping your cells reproduce itself. You smoke the weed, you're smoking something in a gas state. When you're dealing with plasma, you're dealing with gas. Gas, well, the realm close to the plasma is the gas state, and then you have your plasma state above. But if you were to look at it as the plasma falling in frequency, which you have, the plasma, when it hits the ground, in reality, is not supposed to hit the ground and fall. That's what the clouds are made for, to interrupt the frequency as it hitting the ground. That's how they keep the planet cool. Because the thing is, when the planet receives the energy, it actually gives the energy back to space. Feel me? And as it's doing that, it heats up the magnetic field, so it's working in synergy together to break the shit apart. The thing is, they're trying to interfere, and they're still breaking the shit apart. They're trying to interfere, and it was still breaking the shit apart. And the thing is, if you're reflecting light, the thing is they're trying to reflect some of the ions from the clouds to actually make a new magnetic field, but no, that's not fucking happening at the same time. Because if you're reflecting the light back, where it's coming from, then there is coming back even stronger at your dumbass. So really, either way it goes, you just need to leave the cycle alone, because you're gonna die either fucking way. Alright? That is when it comes to acceptance. Like, even if I'm doing wrong, I could die too. So when it comes to acceptance, repenting, admitting to oneself was wrongdoing. And when you're admitting to yourself, you're admitting to God, not something outside of you that you keep giving your energy to, right? Because he who understands the number of the beast is interrupting, you feel me? Interrupting with clouds, right? What does that agree? So, like, you can kill yourself and heal yourself mentally. And you can kill yourself and heal yourself mentally. You need to be consuming things that heals you physically, and then you need to be in a thinking way, detaching yourself, knowing thyself, and knowing what's not of you, to even listen to your intuition correctly. Because if not, you're got anxiety into your imagination. Your imagination is tied to your homologous genes, your X genes. It's tied to that junk. All of that has to get cleaned up. So that's what comes with healing yourself physically. The main key is creating blood flow, because you're creating a current of electricity, and electricity comes from atoms, and then you got your atoms, which are cells, and then your cells are pretty much amino acids, or what they call proteins. But your amino acids is the whole life code. So when you're repairing the code within you, it's actually a reactant to heat and light. So the higher UV that you're in, as you're unlocking the gates within you, the light actually helps unlock the gate for you to travel through a gate above you, right? So consciously, gates has already been opened to 9 and higher. Well, 9 and the 3 alternates, which is 3, but it's like the 3 heavens. Because, like, even if you even make it to that point and enter it, you become open to, you actually begin training. You go back to remembering. You you get training of what you need to know all over again, which represents the 36. Thing is, there's people here that don't need to do all that extra shit. They do it naturally when they believe. But the only way you can believe is if you see, and from the way you're thinking, you have to understand what you're thinking. Because if you understood 2 fingers plus another 2 fingers made 4 fingers, you saw it, you got it. Now that's what you believe. The H represents 4 elements. The thing, people been seeing that turquoise color in the sky with the sun or whatever, that's actually a real moon. And you're seeing the reflection of the real moon. That is with Nibiru. Nibiru has a moon. And it's called Helion. It's a turquoise moon. And when that moon is more in appearance, and you will see more of that SpongeBob episode when it was a green moon going around, dealing with shifting people or shifting the characters back to its original form. So SpongeBob turned into a real sponge. Um, the fishes that were walking around like fishes with 2 feet, like a humanoid fish, they were walking around like that. They were walking around like humanoid fish. They turned back into a regular fish, laying there. Feel me? Shit was turning back regular once it tapped in to their soul. Like you can look into a person's soul, look into their eyes, because their eyes connect to the solar system. It connects to the light because each eyeball connects to all of the senses. It connects to one side of the brain, the other side of the brain. So to clear out the pathways for your nervous system, it's good to like look at the sun like this and then look at it like that and then look at it both. But if you end up doing it one hand, make sure that you're counting the number of seconds or at least seeing when it starts to adapt, because you'll know you've been um drinking too much or something like that, or you just need to get your energy back. When you look at it, it kind of hurts. So make sure you adapt to it every chance you get and let your skin receive it, because the UV is high as a bitch. That's why I know the cold. Remember, it's only 1 through 9. 10 is 1, 11 is 2, 12 is 3. But it's, you see how it's 2 digits now. 2 digits represents an extra interval, a higher interval. Now it's in its tens, hundreds, you got the hundreds and the thousands place. Those are like going into a higher interval. But it still comes back to the number 1 through 9, right? So that's when you have your X2 or V2, because it's at a higher interval, right? And it comes around when the micron lines up, right? What? So then when alpha, right, becomes alpha microns turn a little o into a big O. Then that's where you got the explosion that happened September 10th, because the solar is coming back into play. And what you was supposed to be expecting for September, it started October 27th or the 25th. No, the 27th. Like I was saying, October was July, right? October was July. Yeah, October was July. November was August, going into August, because the Lionsgate portal was the is what you were supposed to look for, but look for it on October 25th, going into November. That's when Halloween was right there doing that Lionsgate portal. You feel me? Because they were doing a ceremony behind closed doors, and then they gave a body, which was Takeoff. Some more shit too. There's more shit than just Takeoff. You feel me? But that's just an example. So then I was dealing with walk-ins and all that extra shit. But then it really wasn't on a solar frequency too much. It was kind of like a lunar type thing, because they had the clouds blocked. So September, which really would have been June the 21st or 2nd, right? So September the 20th 2022 or 2022nd, 2022, there was actually a red blood moon. Like, not blood moon how the lunar eclipse was looking, the beaver moon, because I saw that face to face. It looked like a 3D module in the goddamn sky to the point it looked fucking fake. It was weird, but I caught it all on video, and you can catch that on my channel. Cause I woke up in the middle of the night. I was supposed to meet a girl that got down to go look at it, or a queen to go look at it, but I fell asleep on accident. So then I woke up and it was happening. And I was like, oh shit, let me look at this shit. Cause you can see the crescent moving type shit. And then you saw pretty much a red planet. Looked like it could be like Nibiru, the backside of it, or like at Aries or Mars. So one of them threes was red. But the thing is, what everyone was looking for, even the Vatican, the Pope, and all that shit really fucking happened. I never seen any moon in my life so vibrant red. It was this color, but then it was like dark, but it looked like Mars, bro. It looked like Mars, bro. And that's when they started saying Mars was in Gemini because September was really June during the time. Just listen to what I'm saying. I know it sounds crazy. Just listen to what I'm saying. Because the thing is, it's four alternates of you representing the four elements and the four states. You feel me? Plus one, the sun. That's the fifth element, the plasma from above. Really antimatter, which you already produce with yourself, but the light and the heat that comes from Sirius A, B, and X comes through Sirius at a tilt and a light, and then hits the sun, and then hits us. So, and then at the same time, it's just, yeah, like, so the planets, it's really like suns that you're looking at, really. So it's like Kai might actually look fucking a whole nother color by the time, like, if we was on another planet, it would look like a star. When you see Neptune and everything look like a star, right? So obviously we look like a star. So delta representing the sun and the UV, delta is the fucking sun. So then they have a delta force and it look like they've been attacking the sun. So then that goes into the wars in the heavens type shit, because portals are open. So the thing with CERN is it connects with Saturn and the Saturnalians and shit like that, which connects to Satan or Nern or that chief of the realm, which has been in control of the alignments through Saturn. Feel me? But the thing is, the sun is the main source that's connected to Kai, which is the energy. So Kai is part of it too, and everything aligned is part of it too, which is your alphabet dealing with the 369. Because the alphabet really is the energies of the vibrations of the hertz that it creates. It creates music, right? So when they come together, it creates a type of vibration that comes into like a megahertz, and then that turns into tuning for everything around it for the natural. So it can rise and rise up. The more it heat up, it rises up and make it more sustainable, make it more of a sustainable place to live for nature. That's my fighting back, in other words, making it more sustainable for the indigenous or whoever's on this show. You feel me? That's beautiful. Glad you're having a great time. Cause it's hella energy hitting that area. There's hella energy on the way to the US. That's what I was talking about, these M flares and these clouds. It generates cold. And then the shit that's in it is bad for your breathing already. But the thing about cold, it makes it fall. So whatever they put in above makes the shit fall, right? And then now you're breathing it below, right? Well, because the atoms in the air was changing. A lot of iron atoms was changing to magnesium atoms, which deals with chlorophyll, which deals with melanin, which deals with oxygen, which deals with with melanin, which deals with gold and neuromelanin. Because like the little atoms is like the sun when it supernovas, right? Because when it supernovas, it turns into a neutron star or a black hole, either or. So let's say the neutron star is like the rainbow sun, or like how the portals be, right? It'd be rainbow colors, like, but like in a circle, or like oval. And then the black hole is like a circle or oval of the two. But the thing is, the air, the neuromelanin was attaching to the neuron. The antimatter was attaching to the atoms. You feel me? So it was two dots attached to each atom in the air. As I'm looking up, it looks like debris falling, but it looked like that's some shit people on acid be saying. So I never took acid in my life. So the circles, right? You can see this shit where you look up and just focus your eyes until you can't see atoms. Unless you have a microscope, which are they copy, they got the idea of a microscope from your eyes, and the shit that it's capable to do once it's tuned back into the nervous system the way it's supposed to be. Because this is your first eye, which actually absorbs infrared light and can transmute it into energy, which is what they're studying on Snake's Island. You feel me? Hold on. Alright, so back to what I was saying. I forgot what I was going to say. Because I feel like this just ended up going to like a whole different subject. Because, oh yeah, we were talking about these programs, right? So these programs go under various names. So in general, the person and their doctor must apply for these access to investigational projects. The company has to choose to cooperate, and the medicines regulatory agency needs to agree that the risk and possible benefits of the drug or device are understood well enough to determine if putting a person at risk has a sufficient potential benefit. In some countries, the government will pay for the drug or device. Peep how they keep saying drug or device. Remember I said they're using the drug and the device because they're already been operating on each one separately. They've been doing everything separately till this time, till 2018. Alright, so boom. Alright, so really like 2003. Alright, so boom. Yeah, because that was like year 18, 19. And then, hold on. Yeah, because it took 27 years from 1994 from the first invasion. Because the portals open up every 27 years, which power to the 9. So, big gang. Alright, so I forgot where I was at. Alright, I'm gonna just reread what I was saying, and I'm gonna try to just keep reading. Alright, so in general, the person and their doctor must apply for access to investigational products. That shit, feel me? That's another thing. Anything that they're fucking putting a tax on is still part of their investigational product. Down to you, you're a fucking investigational product. If you're a carbonated bean, you're an investigational product, right? And then your name, if you haven't removed that or detached that in the physical, which is part of the spell, then your name is tied to the corporation that's paying for it for you. So that being said, damn, that being said, now your name is tied to the corporation, bro. Oh, this is blunt. Like in reality, they can't tax me. They can't get me in trouble for this shit. They the one putting it on the fucking street, even bringing it here, put me in this predicament, knowing that my ancestors is in my DNA code to smoke this shit. Cause my soul, my subconscious, that a lot of people not tapped into because it got a lot of junk into it, knows what weed is usually for. Is for. If you remove the anxiety physically and mentally, when you smoke weed, you dead ass go into a higher conscious. If you haven't done either or, then it's a little static. You might say some shit and you be like, oh, that's some hot shit. You might say some shit and the whole time be on it. That's like your intuition. When you say random shit like that, that makes sense. That be your intuition. Why not go with something that ends up being fucking right? You feel me? That's breaking. That's knowing who you are and knowing self. Cause self, your melanin, your hair, and all that shit, bro. That shit, your chakras are awarenesses, period. And then it's attached to your nervous system. Then your nervous system is attached to your blood, your plasma, and your melanin. So all three of those attached, being just is all attached to your nerves, period. And your nervous system is attached to straight atoms or your cells. It's the same atoms outside of your body, which makes your when you tap into your crown chakra, now you're controlling the nervous system. You're controlling the blood of air. Feel me? Shit gets deep. So like, let's get back to what he was saying, cause I gotta repeat this again. In general, the person and their doctor must apply for access to investigational products. The company has to choose to cooperate and the medicines regulatory agency needs to agree that the risks and possible benefits of the drug or device are understood well enough to determine if putting a person at risk is a sufficient potential benefit. In some countries, the government will pay for the drug or the device, but in many countries, the person must pay for the drug or device as well as medical services necessary to receive it. In the US, compassionate use started with the provision of investigational medicine to certain patients in the late 1970s. Significant date because the cycles, the loops actually repeats every 10 years, but it's really every 9 years, remember. And then just say like the 80s, you got the 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 89. Then you got 90. That's the 10, right? Say like 90 was 9. Then you had 91. That was 10, but that was 1. Then you had 92. That was 11, but that was 2. Then you had 93. That was 12. That was 12, but 3. Then you had 94. 94 though was 13, then 4. You feel me? So the loop is, you see the loop if you put all those dates in columns. So get 1960 down to 1969, one column. Get 1970s down one column. Then get all the way up to 2022, right? You got them different columns. Now read the shit in reverse. Then when you read it in reverse, it's going to be gaps. If you count it like in math, it's going to be like gaps of 1,000 years, right? 1,000 years. Year is another word for time, right? But time is a measurement of quantum energy or energy cycles, which is a 369. So it's like a loop. So that's why you see things in repeat at these certain times. So for example, 1994. Oh shit. 1994. You got 1994, right? Backwards will be 4991. I made a video saying what year it was. But look though, 1994, 4991. This is some random shit. I feel like I might have did this before, but this is some random shit. 4994 minus 19. 4991 minus 1994 equals 2,900. Alright, now fuck that shit. Alright, so I said the year of the 4. What was the year of the 4? The year of the 4, right? that had to deal with like the fourth dimension type shit. For me, that's why 2022 is going to be the settling of this last month of December, which is September. It's going to be the last goddamn. It's going to be the oh, six is going to be settling, and then the year the seventh, 2023, the cycle for the physical, the seventh dimension is going to be starting. Thing is, it was supposed to happen in their eyes in the year 3693, but it's going to happen starting 2023, so it settles. Well, 4091, that was a time period, but that was like 4th century type shit. This shit crazy. That's why I'm glad it's on the other video, cause they don't fucking have the shit I was looking up. Or we're just gonna say 4D, fourth dimension, cause at that time it was 2, 3, 4, or pretty much 3, 4. Then when 1994 came, that was the beginning of the removing of the 3D, going into now it's stepping into the 3, 4, 5, and then it went from 4. It's kind of like 3, 4, 5 now for me, but the 3 is about to be just 4, 5, 6 for me on the plane. But now that 6 is settling, like the time lapse or the time loop or the time cycle is sped up, right? Because the UV breaking through, it really didn't speed up. It's just the UV breaking through, so the cycle on the planet sped it up. The pole shift sped up because the magnetic field depleted, and that's how they was harnessing most of the energy to even produce a lot of shit they were trying to produce. The clouds is like a magnetic field, so the clouds can cause an EMP once it gets into certain shit. Is to counteract with the signal, just like the air you breathe counteracts with the plasma you receive from the sun. Their sigma is a shot, and it even counteracts better with the shot breathing it under the clouds. That's really why they kind of want to have it like that, so they can make it look like fucking Mars or some shit. You feel me? Cloudy shit. So like, see, 4D was created in 1984 and had slightly delayed public release. Macintosh in 1987 in its own programming language. That's not what I was talking about. For 4th century. See, I can't even. I could speak on it, but I was trying to show you it. So, the thing is, check out the video that's labeled the shit that's like that. Because I spoke of it on that shit. But yeah, but that's what I need to go back to what I was doing. uh, cause, yeah. Alright, so let me get back to why I was even making this video. Alright, so in some countries, the government will pay for the drug or the device, but in many countries, the person must pay for the drug or device as well as medical services necessary to receive it. In the US, compassionate use started with the provision of investigational medicine to certain patients in the late 1970s. A formal program was established in 1987 in response to HIV/AIDS patients requesting access to drugs and development. So that being said, there's something called CVID. You feel me? CVID. I'm gonna spell it out so look. Let me just look it up. CVID, right? Offering the latest treatment for combined variable. Variable means variant, right? Combined variant, which is all the variants combined. Variable immune deficiency syndrome. Immune deficiency dealing with your immunoglobulin. Immunoglobulin is your immune system being tied to your red blood cells. Your immunoglobulin is your your immune system. You feel me? Your immunoglobulin is your immune system and how it transports your proteins to your respiratory system and all throughout your body, which really supposed to say amino acids, because the amino acids actually is your antibodies that fights off, which is your DNA supposed to be fighting when you're eating the right way. That's why they had to spike the proteins with animal uh, T cells, which cause cholesterol problems or blockages to your sodium channels, and it allows that device and also detect your oxygen. The reason why it was coming from China is because the tetroxoxygen is inside the pufferfish. The pufferfish is highly found in China in the waters, so that's why they were able to make high productions of it. The U.S. was part of it because they went out and did the work in the during colonization in Africa and in the Dominican Republic area, in South America too, because that's what George Washington set his foot down, or George, Prince George, whoever the fuck you want to call him, King James, whoopie whoop, where he set his foot down, he made a triangle, and Europe, or by Russia, where they're doing a little war by the Black Sea and all that extra shit, there's a triangle and it's attached to from Eurasia all the way to Atlanta, Georgia, then all the way to uh, Sandwich Islands in South Georgia and South America. It makes a whole triangle of where he made his establishments between the continents. But in between that continent is another landmass that's sunken on both parallels. So on the outside of the Atlantic is like the Bermuda, and then you got Lamora that's right there at 77 degrees. There's a base at 48 degrees, uh, 48 degrees either east, 0 north, or 48 degrees north, 0 east, representing the sun and where the plasma hits. That's why 77 hit. That's like the Indian Seas and shit. So now, since 77 hit, so CBID, see how CBID look like COVID? They just took the O out. The little O stands for Omicron, and little O, right? Omi means, I'm gonna show you the device. Stand up, I'll do it again because nobody really looking at it. Just in case somebody look at this shit though. Look, Omi. Uh, mm, mm. Oh no. Omi, right? Omi means alien. Little O means micron as opposed to great O meaning omega. So this is when it comes to the X, right? You got your X, you got your little O, negative, big O, positive. Hmm. No. Got the little O with the Z representing Zeta or Zaya. Gonna represent Zeta or Zaya for the Z, right? Then you got Alpha, then you got the big O. big O. Feel me? This is the big O. Got alphas with the little O. Cause alpha micron means alpha omega. But energies A through Z is gonna line up going like that. It's funny how I made this shit record because boom. And then the micron energies, it turns up to this, which turns up to that, which all turns down to that, to this, because of a cycle, which pretty much goes like this. Like I said, boom, boom, it makes a circle. The issue is, I'm trying to show you what, how it's in the word. AN means what? AN nothing. This is beyond existence, separate from anything. It's absolutely nothing. AN further represents the primeval light that is the spiritual light of God mentioned in Genesis. Talking about the UV. But the time when they really start discussing, it'll be the time when a micron is like more lined up. Feel me? Which is around this time. Last 3 months of the year. Really is not the last 3 months. It's the repeat of the cycle. Settling. So it was interfered for about 3 months now. Since October, it started kicking back in gear. So they had to do higher increments. So they started talking about new variants, new shots, more clouds. So, but look, the thing about AN is a prefix. No, it's a suffix of Zayn. And Zayn means weapon, right? So really, the Omicron is the weapon. Zayn is the Hebrew version. Yeah, Zayn is the Hebrew version of Zeti. Then that's where Zetabe comes from. Zetabe is a medication used to treat high blood cholesterol and other lipid abnormalities. Generally, it is used together with dietary changes and a statin. Alone, it is less preferred than a statin. It is taken by mouth. Now they're trying to say it's taken by the mouth. but it's a lipoprotein transfer. Unless they're coming up with yeah. So see all of that. Alright, this part. That's what sarco or sarcove comes apart. Because sarco means it was a word called sarco. You take the hyphens out and you take the S out because the S made the mutation plural, meaning that it was going to mutate it to something else. And that's when they got the extra words. But all these words have meanings. So the lipo lowering drug was a lipo transfer. So if you read this right here, the thing about it, yeah, that works as a cholesterol to stabilize, help stabilize the parasite. The parasite is a robotic parasite that can actually grow into something that's called a xenopod. That's what I'm trying to show you real quick. Only means in science. See, that's some whole other stuff I ain't never see, but as you can see, it makes sense to what everyone's just been saying. Optical manipulation. See, this shit. Okay, no, that's the thing. Omi means A-N. I'm tripping. Omi means A-N. I'm trying to say it without looking at where I wrote it down now. So Omi means A-N. A-N means Zayn. Zayn means weapon. So that well, you heard what I said. Omi means An. An actually is the suffix for the word Zayn, which is Z dealing with Zayn. An. So um and then all of that is dealing with the delta, uh the D. So when you you look at the D in medical terms and look at it in Greek and then look at it in math and science and business. It'll tell you a lot. There's a video on it already, but yeah, it'll tell you a lot. So, um, what else was I about to say? Where did all this shit come from? So Omi means Zayn. So Omi pretty much means weapon. Zeno, Zeno means gift to Zeus. So I'm trying to compare Xenobot with a Micron. So Omi is matched up with Z. Okay, the little O is matched up with Z. The Xeno, right? This is their way. So, because it's gone, they always plot the shit to the energy. So Zeno, which is the gift to Zeus, and the gift to Kronos from him and his sister was pretty much an acid to pretty much kill. Kronos deals with crime. So Omi meaning An pretty much is aligned to Zayn. Omi means An means Zayn, Zayn means weapon. So crime, which the Xeno was for, crime means a scheduler or timer that automatically starts a job program on task. Cron is a utility program dealing with computer program that lets users input commands for scheduling tasks repeated at the same time. So if your cells are amino acids, which pretty much your DNA period, because that's what they examine your cells, your atoms. So that's your DNA, and they're using an AI cell that imitates your cell, and that's why the cholesterol blocks out the sodium channel. So those T cells from that, because they have a fake AI cell pretty much that grows and can make eggs, and makes more shit, right? And then the animal fetus actually is the T cell that attached, which duplicates and mutates because the cells that were already there already mutate. That's why it has to attach to it to mutate, because the cells are duplicating at triple the effective time now. That being that the UV is higher. So the CME is bringing radiation that's like X-rays. So they didn't need you in the lab. This is the lab. The lab is the realm. You feel me? In real life. But they just had to give it to you, send you out under the sun and under the clouds. The clouds is to stop the people who still not with the shits. But it still affects the ones who did do the shit. It's just they're not thinking fully unless someone they hear and then see. Because that's all you have to do is hear somebody or look, just start paying attention to shit. That's all. Just pay attention to shit. Know your surroundings. Be aware of your surroundings. It's a spiritual thing, but then it's just a common sense thing at this point. It's like, I'm just like, fuck all that shit. You know? You gotta be aware of your surroundings. Because shit get wicked instantly. Feel me? But in fear, you can't be in fear. Because that same feeling that you get that is an awareness feeling. Just peep both things. That's peeping higher self, because that's a subconscious thought. So that's pretty much like your soul. Feel me into it. It's a subconscious movement. This is my higher self, then lower self when you're in fear. I realize why people in movies run when they're in fear, because it actually triggers something in your calf muscle cause that deals with the sarcolactic acid buildup, right? And that deals with cramps and shit and paralysis. And a lot of people's been getting soreness because there's a lot of acid built up right there. So that deals with your right leg is attached to is pretty much like the right side of your brain. So if you peep what cron means, cron is a standard Unix utility that is used to schedule commands and automatic executions at a specific interval. Intervals are dealing with hertz, so they're going along the energy cycles of the sun because the sun is giving off hertz at different points of the grid. And they're all with the same gameplay, but they're doing different things at different times because different energies is actually hitting them more. Like, say, when the M flares is, like, the US would say they're with somebody on TV, knowing that they're already with them, but then they pull out and just act like they pull out. They pretty much get them to sign. As soon as they get them to sign, they freeze the fucking area up from M flare in the clouds, and it makes it fucking Arctic, like type shit. Freeze all the shit up, and then these fucking animals frozen, all that shit. What do you think? How it came like that? The only thing that's going around hitting like that is plasma. That's what I'm saying, and they're trying to block this plasma from hitting us with these clouds. But as it's doing that, it's making people sick. And then with the fake propaganda, they're still making money off of that because it's still making you pay for everything under your name with taxes. And really, that's how they're not going into inflation, because they're adding taxes and people are still paying for it. So as long as people is paying, that's how you. That's like if you take an L. Say if you was selling drugs or something, you took an L, or like selling anything, selling fucking water. Your water bottle was bust, so now that's taking away your profit. You had 20 water bottles that you were gonna sell for $2 each. So now, taking away your profit, you lost $10. You lost 10 water bottles. Now you can only make 20 water bottles, but you need to make $40 out of those water bottles. So now you're at the concert and you're charging $4 for a water bottle because you know people need it. And when people need it, they're going to pay for the money to get it. So when they see that people do that and they're getting money now and all types of shit, figuring out ways, now they can tax the shit up and people are going to pay. But as soon as you stop paying it, their value of whatever they're trying to tax is going to go down. But it's going to allow another value somewhere else to go up. And that being said, everyone is shopping with other foreigner areas and not shopping within your neighbors, within this continent by itself. Kind of like what Trump was saying. Everything naturally is here. If any pipelines is shut the fuck down, it is because they're moving fucking drugs or fucking moving uh or migrating fucking people's kids that's been missing and shit. or anyone that's fucking dead. Probably just in the fucking in the little containers, just chilling, bro. Like that's what like a lot of deltas that represents the triangle, like land masses, mountains, volcanoes, uh, waters, even the air, where it makes like because it makes like I pretty much. It makes a circle, and the delta like the recycle sign. It makes a cycle around the triangle. The triangle is just representing the energy, meaning it harnesses a lot of energy because that's what different points of the triangle does. Feel me? It's just like a blueprint for if you were to make it 3D, pop out, then it look like a pyramid or a prism. So it's like different areas that harness a lot of energy like that, and that's when it's coming to the Atlantic. It's really gonna hit 144 degrees, which is the Pacific by California. Once it do so, then it'll be straight. Then it'll move on. Well, really, it's gonna hit South America if it already has, I think. And then it moves on to 144, and as that is gonna be 48 and 42 or 46 degrees, either east, zero, north, or all those numbers north, zero, east. Because that's where the plasma hit coming from the sun. And those areas most likely is where they have bases at, or some shit that's attached to it. Like Sandwich Island or South America, they have a lot of good geologists there, so they're doing a lot of studies on that shit, and then they get their studies from biology, and then dealing with pathology and all that shit. They got other areas, chemistry, like China and Africa and Eurasia, pretty much. All those different labs and shit, like Ukraine, Snake Island. They're studying people eye and how it interacts with infrared lights, right? That's why I call it Snake Island. But the real Snake Island is in South America. Um, so yeah, Kron developers AT&T Bell Laboratories. Hmm, the fuck? I've seen that shit before. Alright, Cron users who set up and maintain software environment use the Cron to schedule jobs. So that's what the 5G was for. They set up like 10 miles radius apart from each other, like 5 miles. You see a lot of them blue lights, boom. UV lights, boom. Also known as cron jobs who run periodically at fixed times, dates, or intervals and typically automate system maintenance and administration. Though its general purpose nature makes it useful for things like downloading files from the internet and downloading emails at a regular interval. Cron is most suitable for scheduling repetitive tasks. Scheduling one-time tasks can be accomplished using associated to at utility. Cron names originates from chronos, the Greek word for time. And time is the measurement of the energy cycle. And that's pretty much what's going on right now to see when uh, the big boom that everyone's waiting for is going to happen is aligned to the energy cycle. And that time which September was 2017, is that time this year, and that time is December. So from a shift going on from now, there's going to be some shit going on. The world order final signs is probably going to be by March or January. But you have to find January by the time we're already in. So that means that would be 4 months from right now. 4 months from right now would be April. April Fools. April Fools is the new year. The rebirth energy, the three, or the third house, which is like Gemini, that's pretty much being lined up with Orion, which is a hell of a combination because this is red suns and blue suns, or blue white dwarfs and red sun and red dwarfs. It's all in the sky, right? And then it's all around the road constellation, which really is not a constellation, it's an opening in the firmament. Feel me? It's an opening with rainbow colored clusters. You can see it. It's in the middle of it. So it's a big triangle. Betelgeuse and all that shit. And Canis, I think Canis Minor or Canis Major, whichever one that has Sirius, because then that's when Sirius is an opening too. So Sirius A, B, C, and X, which is why the UV actually intensifies because of Sirius A, B, C, and X. Feel me? All those energy combined makes antimatter, just like the four alternates of the sun when it comes back together. The sun is coming back together. The planet is trying to come back together to what it was. So it's trying to get you back together to what you were. And when certain things come back in line and knock out certain shit, then it's gonna, yeah. 2017, the shift actually happened. It just didn't last very long. But it happened spiritually though. Even if people wasn't on the spiritual path, you realize certain people who you're around and certain people you stopped being around, certain people you started being around, and then just you being by yourself type shit. Like, you know this shit happened for a reason, right? It was just shit for you to pay attention to get you right, because sometimes you gotta to detach from shit, you gotta be hurt from it, and you only hurt because it wasn't something that dealt with your love. That's why a lot of this shit that's going on hurts, and it might seem not like it's hate, but really it's awareness of what's going on, and that shit is totally against uh, love and one sound. For me, so crime, right? I was trying to see what fucking code that shit. The Cron version 7 Unix was a system service later called daemon, invoked from when operating systems enter multi-user mode. Its algorithm was straightforward. This version of Ground was a basic, robust, and it's also consumed resource whether it's found any work to do. It was an experiment at Purdue University in the late 1970s to extend the cron service to all 100 users on one timeshare backs. it was found to place too much load on the system. The Unix system V was created to extend the capability of cron users of the Unix system, not just the super user. Though this may seem trivial today, with most Unix to Unix-like systems having powerful processors and small numbers of users. At the time, it required a new approach of the one MIPS system having roughly 100 users accounts. In August 1977 issues The Communication of ACM. Franta Kirk-Maley published an article titled Efficient Data Structure for a Simulation Event Set, describing an event K driven simulation that demonstrated performance superior to a commonly used simple link algorithm, good behavior given a non-uniform time distribution and the worst complexity, n being the number of events in the chaos. A Purdue graduate student, Robert Brown, reviewing this article, recognized the parallels between con and discrete event stimulators and created the implementations of the Franta-Maley event manager for experimentation. Discrete event simulators run in virtual time, pulling events off and events as quickly as possible, advancing their notion of now to the scheduled time of the next event. Running the event simulator in real time instead of virtual time created a version of cron that spent most of its time sleeping, waiting for the scheduled time to execute the task at the head of the event list. The following school year brought new students into graduate programs to Purdue, including Keith Williamson, who joined the system staff and computer science department as a warm-up task. Brown asked him to flesh out the prototype cron into a production service, and this multi-user cron went into use at Purdue in late 1979. This version of cron Wally replaced the ETC cron electron that was in use on the computer science department. VAX 11780 running 32 volts. The algorithm used by this cron is followed. The daemon responds to psi-up signals to rescan cron tabs files schedule specially wake-up events on a half-hour modified and cron tab files. So that's like they're saying some shit and really not trying to say it fully. But if you look up the word bot, it says pretty much the same thing. Autonomous program on the internet or another network that can be interact with systems or users. Second is a robot. Science fiction, but niggas been making, why is it science fiction when people actually make robots? And now they're trying to make it transhumanism. And the only way you can make it a transhumanism is if you attack the cell first and then the organs attached to it, because that's where all the energy is harnessed at. So if you can't do that shit, then you're not really doing shit at all. Alright? So that's why you have to keep your body alkaline so you can keep all that shit out of you. So bots are automated, which means they are running according to their instructions without a human user needing to manually start them up every time. Bots often imitate or replace a human's user's behavior, typically do repetitive tasks, and they can do them much faster than users could. that being said, is the imitation of the cell, the xenobot. I say my theory on y'all, which declares me immune and my people immunity to not be fucked with. This is the shit y'all been fucking doing to us. This is why people are going through a lot of shit. You wanna say you know what it is because you name the shit what happens. You use the words to describe what's going on. This is a gift from Zeus, Satan, works of Esau. Feel me? And then Zeno, it still got a Z sound to it. Feel me? But same shit. Can Xenobots reproduce? Xenobots, also known for the world's first living robots, have the capability to reproduce, according to recent studies from the University of Vermont, Tufts Universities, and Harvard Universities. So it was some code that I saw on like a picture off of like Bobby Hemming shit. I think it ain't up there no more. But it was a code on there, and somehow I picked it up and I put it in Gematria. When I put it in Gematria, first thing it said Xenobot. So I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? This is when I start waking up to this shit. So it said Xenobot and shit. So I'm like, oh shit. So that shit made me go into it some more. And then I noticed every time a micron energy is kind of lined up, which is during the fall, they try to come out with uh, a new variant. And all them variants just be talking about the cycle that's going on. You feel me? That's why you check out my videos. I try to break it down a little bit. But yeah, shit get wicked. That's the AI that's in it. And these niggas is using drugs. They got the tetra oxygen is a zombie ingredient. Because it takes away your covalent bonds. You interrupt with the covalent bonds. Feel me? Tetraoxygen. You find the tetraoxygen inside of pufferfish, which is in China. That's why they have a higher production of it. Is everyone, all of them, is working together. So you say UK got away from the European Union, right? Separated themselves, but they still a part of North America, still Western. But then what was part of UK? Latin. So Latin is a part of that shit. Uh, so, but Latin still have ownership of South America pretty much, or yeah, pretty much South America and shit like that. So, but the Americas is just the Americas. You feel me? Um, so it's like either way, the European Union is like the Eastern uh, the Eastern Empire, and the Eastern Empire still was part of the Jews, or what you would say the Russians or the Nazis, right? Well, the imitator ones. But I mean, the ones who started off was black, but then the imitators were the puppets who kept it going. But that ended up keeping it going, uh, but making more destruction, allowing their race to grow. That was really genetically modified in each place. That was the whole walk, the whole empire takeover, or what they said. That was the whole walk, the whole circle. Right? That's why when they came to America, they thought we were Indians, right? Because it was the real version of us, and then the imitated version of every area. So if you go to every area, first thing you should think of black, or different skin tones, but shit like that, dealing on the different climate or the different UV you were getting, and the type of air you were getting if you were around more trees or not around more trees, shit like that, because it actually deals with your anatomy too. But yeah, I got off topic and I just been here just talking and shit, so I might just hop off. Y'all just stay aware when you see rain or a lot of clouds. That means energy's coming. Facts. Was already hitting. Be aware, not in fear. Let's get it.